Disclaimer. All views expressed on What Makes Us Fire are solely those of the person or persons giving them. What Makes Us Fire does not represent or claim to represent any particular city or fire department, and therefore we make the claim that all views and standpoints are affiliated with What Makes Us Fire and with What Makes Us Fire only. Any mention of certain fire departments or cities within the interviews are solely for informational and opinion based dialogue. In short, if you have a problem with something that was published, please just say something and don't be a Richard. What makes us fire? How are you guys doing out there? Thank you for joining the episode. Today, we have the wonderful, the beautiful Miss Krista Lindsay. She is the daughter of a lieutenant that I work with, and we are going to get her viewpoint on what it was like growing up the daughter of a firefighter, and especially this firefighter. You're going to hear a lot of his background. You're going to hear how she processed who he was and what he went through as a firefighter, and how that helped her grow as a human being, as a person. Her story is great. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's awesome. Without further ado, the Miss Krista Lindsay. Okay, so Krista, thank you for coming to What Makes Us Fire.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you coming
me.
in. I'm gonna move this just a little bit closer
Okay.
because you gotta get a little bit closer. I'm sorry.
Okay,
And then whenever you do talk, just go ahead and talk directly into this circle here.
Okay.
So you can look at me if you want. Just make sure that your voice is projected into there.
Okay.
It
Sounds
allows
good.
me to pick up all the audio and everything else.
Cool.
So, Crystal, I know you from being the daughter of one of my lieutenants in the fire department I work with,
Yes.
Lieutenant Lindsay.
Yes.
Lieutenant Tracy Lindsay. How you doing, sir? I'm gonna take good care
He's
of her.
definitely watching. He's
I'm
very
gonna
supportive.
take good care of her. She's been awesome so far. Definitely the most liveliest one I've had
Really?
on the podcast. Yeah, you're very bubbly.
Oh, well, that's good. But he might not take care of you very well if you didn't take care of me. So
No, trust me. I trust me. I know. I'm fully aware of Lieutenant Tracy Lindsay. So, I appreciate you coming back and doing the podcast. Just to let everybody know, as we're doing this, Krista actually has her TikTok going. So if you hear her stop and say hi to somebody, it's not because she has Tourette's or anything. She's actually saying hi to her followers and being a good host. So I'm totally okay with her doing that during our podcast. So don't even worry about it, Krista. If you want to say hi to somebody or thank somebody, by all means, take the time. And if your TikTok listeners listen to the podcast, they're going to be able to hear you twice.
yes.
Say thank you.
Exactly. So if you are on TikTok and you follow me, please, please, please go follow the Instagram page, hashtag What Makes Us Fire.
Or at What Makes Us Fire.
Or at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those two, you're going to find
one
the
of them.
page.
If
Yeah.
you search it, it's going to pop up.
Yeah. So I invited you, Krista, here because obviously you're the daughter of a firefighter.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And this podcast, I've been wanting to get the viewpoints of not only the firefighters, right? Because I think there's a lot of stuff out there for firefighters, by firefighters, with only firefighters. And that's
Right.
not wrong. It's not wrong at all. But I want to give the perspective of not just the firefighters, but the family members, the friends, the acquaintances, and then people that have just been touched by a firefighter in some way, somehow, and or people that are just what's what I'm looking for?
Affected.
Affected. They're
Impacted.
impacted. They're they look up to them, whatever. I just want to get all those insights because I've noticed as a firefighter that we have been projected as something we're not in the whole Hollywood culture.
Okay.
And
what do you mean by that?
So, how do I say this? I think that most people think, or the general public thinks, most firefighters are the Hollywood type firefighters, right? They're not as diverse as we really are. That doesn't get really shown.
Okay.
I think a lot of people think that firefighters all have the same mentality. They all think the same. They all do the same things. Mm-hmm. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Right.
But there's nobody out there actually showing all that.
Right.
And nobody's really talking about it. And then nobody's getting the point of view from the families. We always hear about the firefighters, what they do, the stresses of the job from their point of view. Right. But I want to get it from that family's point of view too, because I'm sure me being a firefighter has affected my kids' lives and my wife's life.
Absolutely.
Way more than they probably could ever imagine.
Right.
Maybe more than I ever imagined it would have.
Or even that they don't understand until they're an adult.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I want to get your perspective as a daughter. Yeah. Okay. You're the daughter of Lieutenant Tracy Lindsay. He's been in the fire department since you were 1 year old. Yep. And I'm going to do the cardinal sin, and I'm going to ask you your current age.
I'm 28.
28. Okay, so you're young. You're a young girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Since I was 1.
Since you were 1. So he's been in the fire department for 27 years.
I don't know any different.
Yeah. So, and that's an interesting thing. You don't know any different because that's the case I make with my kids. They really don't know anything different. Right.
Until they're an adult, and then they will, and they'll be able to see hindsight.
Yeah. And so take me back to that hindsight. Take me, you know what? Let's do it this way. Start from the beginning.
Okay.
Start growing up. Don't tell me what changed. I want to know what you thought before it all changed.
Oh.
Growing up, all right, your dad's a firefighter. I mean, that's what it was. So growing up, what was it like for you being the daughter of a fireman?
Growing up, it was awesome because my mom had a full-time job. My dad is a firefighter. So they have this schedule that's like they work for 24 hours and then they're off for 48. And whenever my dad was off, I didn't have to go to daycare, and my dad hung out with me all the time. It was like I had a stay-at-home mom that was a dad. So he did all the fun stuff with me. Like, he would give me whatever I wanted to for breakfast. He would let me watch Barney over and over and over and over so he could get like a nap in, probably whenever he got off shift. But I loved having him as my dad before the shift happened. And even still, like, my dad is my best friend. But I think that also that impacted our relationship now as adults because I had such quality time with him as a little child.
So you definitely became the quintessential daddy's girl.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
For sure.
You think if he didn't have that firefighter job that you would have as close of a relationship now?
No.
You honestly think that because he was a firefighter, your relationship is stronger than if he went to an office job?
I don't know, because my dad has such like a caring personality, and he's so intentional and thoughtful in his relationship. So I don't want to say that his job is the only reason why I had that connection, but it definitely played a part.
How big of a part?
A huge part.
A huge part?
Like, whenever I was in labor with my first child, my mom read through like my my baby book, and it said, like, what do you remember as a toddler being like your most fun days? And she was like, oh wow, like you really liked, you know, watching Barney and waking up and going to the gym with your dad and then going to the pool. Like, that was what I wrote down in my child's baby book of my best days of my early childhood.
I mean, you definitely have a way different childhood than I did.
Oh, no.
I'm not, it's not a bad thing. I mean,
but my dad is also a very different person than most people. He's just...
So let's give your dad a little bit of a background from our point of view.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with mine, which is very limited, obviously.
Was your dad a firefighter?
No, my dad was Navy. He was Navy my entire life. But that's another story. About your dad, we're going to give your dad a little bit of a background. I'm going to start with my point of view. So Lieutenant Tracy Lindsay, I remember the first time I ever met him. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was in the process of getting hired. And they had me, I got an email and it said, we need you at the police department at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. At this address. Well, they gave me Station 2's address.
They always do.
So I was like, of course I show up at 6 p.m. They've never heard of anybody showing up at 6 p.m. for a lie detector test, a polygraph. And your dad walks out. Now, I didn't know he was a lieutenant. I didn't know anything. I was not even technically hired with the fire department yet.
Right.
But he walked out, and so you know how women have RBF?
Yep. My poor dad.
So women have resting bitch face. Lieutenant Tracy Lindsay has, I'm going to kill you, I'm an asshole face on his face. But until you get to know him, you'll know that's just his face. Yeah. Love you, Lieutenant Lindsay. I love you to death, but you are very intimidating.
Good.
When
keep doing that.
When somebody first meets you, you're extremely intimidating. So, but that's the first time I met him. He comes walking out and he's like, what the hell are you doing at the back of Fire Station 2 at 6:30 at night? It's dark. But he didn't give me the vibe that I was like stupid or anything. He was just like, what the hell are you doing here? Mm-hmm. And then I told him, well, I was told to be for a lie detector test. And he said, well, they usually do it at the police station. Yep. And then he gave me
that's why I was confused.
Address. Yeah. And then he gave me the address, and then I was on my way, and I was scared shitless because I was like, I don't know if I want to work for that guy. He looks like he's gonna.
But how was he after that? Though?
Well, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
I'm just giving you that was my
initial
first time I ever met him.
Everyone says that.
I didn't even get his name. I didn't even know he was a lieutenant until I got hired on. So let's fast forward 5 months, right? 6 months. I finally get hired on after all that process. It took that long.
Right.
And I get hired on, and I'm working at Station 3 with a different lieutenant, not your dad. And I go through about 6 or 8 months, and then I move to Station 2 with Lieutenant Tracy Lindsay.
Right.
And I finish my rookie year with him, actually.
Yeah, they always give my dad the rookies.
Yes, they do. And for good reason.
Yes.
For good reason. And it was at that point where I got to know him as a lieutenant. So not necessarily on a personal level, even though when we do meet each other on the job, there is some personal level to it because we're family, we live together and everything else. He is like the uncle that's in charge of everybody. Right. There's a joke in the fire department that your lieutenant's your daddy, or your or your battalion chief's your daddy, or if you have a problem, go cry to daddy about it. And when they say that, they mean your lieutenant. But anyway, the lieutenants, he was, as far as lieutenants go, he was, and this is not to, I have to be careful how I say this. All the lieutenants had their good points and bad points and everything. But your dad,
Right.
I found was very. It worked for me because he was very matter of fact. He was very strict about the job, but also very open. As long as you were open to admitting you didn't know something, he was very open to teaching you without trying to make you feel anything less than.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And just through my career, he's always been, Lieutenant Lindsay has had that, he's had that reputation of that's one of the lieutenants that you want to be under.
Yes.
Especially that's one of the lieutenants you want to learn under because he knows a lot. He has some of the most experienced crew that works with him. And he knows how to manage his guys very well.
Oh yeah.
So,
for sure.
And then, so once I got to know him and I realized that was just his face, but he definitely,
it's so funny that you say that.
He is one of the lieutenants, one of the firefighters, lieutenants and everything that I think a lot of the department looks up to. So in saying all that, I can only imagine what he was like when, or at home with his children, and his family life. He's actually a very quiet person. He didn't share a whole
lot. Well, I'm not.
He didn't share a whole lot about his family life, unless you were really, really close to him. And he's very particular in who he invites, and that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
But I think I maybe met you a couple times. You came up to the department.
I think I met you once, and then that other time.
I think, yeah. I think I may have met you twice. You may have came up for a holiday another time, or something like that. You brought your kids, and he was seeing his grandkids. So.
I'm sorry, I'm just adjusting my.
Oh, you're good. And so that's basically my point of view of him. So I want you to give your little bit of background on what you know of him up until that realization.
My dad. So
now this podcast is not a Kiss Lieutenant Tracy Lindsay's ass podcast.
No.
Just putting that out there because I'm sure I'm going to get that.
And no. And I will drag him a little bit.
That's fine. Hey, that's fine. He said, "Hey," and I got clearance. By the
yes,
way. I double checked. I made you double.
But I'm not gonna. Yeah, whatever. So we'll go into that. But so to get over the whole ass kissing. Of all of my 18 years that I lived in his house, never once did he ever yell at me, lose his cool, or become flustered. As a parent, what do you think about that?
He probably has stomach ulcers.
Right. Yes.
From keeping all that emotion stress.
Along with being a fireman.
Yeah. No, he took it all out on us.
Well, good. Because I never got to experience it, ever.
Awesome. That's awesome.
However, the lectures that I got were so meticulous, and I'm sure you got them too. He is so da, 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 in everything. Even if you're oh, I spilled something, he goes, okay, I need you to go get a towel and clean it up and then go to the trash and throw it away. And I'm I could see why they give you the rookies.
Yeah. And that's actually a good thing with the rookies. Because
it is, but it's annoying.
Oh, I know.
And so I bet that you experienced it with my dad. You're I know. This is common sense.
Yes.
But it doesn't, to him, common sense, goes out the window. He's if I don't tell you, you don't know, then it's on me if you F up.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think he took a lot of responsibility in your actions or how you acted?
No, because I think that he was able to separate like the job and parenting very well. I don't think that I never felt that way.
You never felt that way? So
No.
you think that, so I guess what my question is more is like, say you messed up really bad, and it's something that he thought that's a lesson he should have taught you. You didn't never got the feeling that maybe he let you down, or he felt like he let you down.
I felt that sometimes, like if I ever messed up really bad, I think that he felt that him being away for 24 hours at a time maybe affected that.
Okay. Yeah, because as a father, and I'm sure as a mother, whenever your child makes a mistake, it's like, well, damn, I probably should have told them about that.
It wasn't so much about him telling me, because we had a really good open relationship and we still do. I think it was his absence for such a big length of time. That was like, if I was there in that moment, maybe I could have, redirected that.
That makes sense. I get that. I feel that way as well as a parent. I'm sure you do too. Whenever you're probably off at work or something and something happens, you're like, well, if I was there,
right,
I could have changed it.
Well, my ex-husband's a cop and we have 50-50 custody. And whenever I'm not there 50% of the time, I feel that way. And I couldn't imagine being the head of a household and being gone for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Especially when your kids are going through like the teen years, Yeah,
that's true. And I got that going on right now. My daughter's 14.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you mean.
Right.
It's a good thing I didn't ask you about your husband, because I was totally going to do that, because I was like, I remember your husband's a police officer. I did not know you were divorced, and that is all on me. I am sorry. Probably should have done my research.
No, I just don't put everything out there.
No, you don't have to.
No, I mean, I'm fine talking about it. It's very similar.
It is. It's similar.
Similar, but very different.
Yeah.
It's like the same, but different.
All right. So we kind of gave a little bit of what we know Lieutenant Tracy Lindsay is in our eyes, right? You grew up with him as a child. Mm-hmm. And obviously you remember the good things, right? How do you think as a child, that made you behave as a child? I'm not talking about, I was a good child because my dad was there a lot of the time. No, I'm talking about like, because your dad was a firefighter, your father was a firefighter, that made you feel a certain way and act a certain way, I'm sure. Can you maybe think about how it may have affected how you acted and who you were at that time?
Honestly, until 9/11, it didn't affect me that much. Until I was like in the 4th grade when 9/11 happened. And then I realized that every day that my dad went into work, he was walking into a situation that could mean sudden death or life, And that's, I think, it was 9. That's really when that shifted in me. But before then, I just was la-di-da. Like,
you're just a normal child.
Yeah.
Or what you consider to be a normal child.
And a lucky child. I got to hang out with my dad all day long when he was the fun parent. But yeah, it wasn't until 9/11 that I realized that my dad had a dangerous job.
So 9/11 happens and you realize this, right? So you're 9 years old now. So how did that change your relationship with your father? It wasn't, okay, dad's going to work anymore. I'm sure there was a little bit of there's more emotion now behind him going to work.
Oh, it definitely was. But because my dad is so intentional, like, he knew that stress of his job. And even though I didn't know that he might not come back the next day, he knew. And so he would come in every morning before work and kiss me on the head and say, I love you. At 5 a.m., it didn't matter if it woke me up or not, but he did that. Now, what was way different was in 2004, lost one of their own.
Nito.
And it was December 20th, 2004. And I will never, ever forget that day. And it was then that not only my perspective changed, but his demeanor changed.
It actually changed a lot within the department. Not just the guys and their psyche and their demeanors and how they conducted themselves. It actually changed the department itself in whole. It changed policies, it changed training, it changed a lot of stuff, and there's a whole myriad of reasons behind that.
Right. And my dad was also on scene and was supposed to be in the building, but he got pushed down to the driver that day.
I didn't know that part.
Yep.
I didn't know that part. And
even though, like, they only lost one member, a lot of firemen were hurt.
Yeah, there was a couple of guys got hurt pretty bad. Some that are still working with those injuries, some back injuries and everything else. That fire, I mean, it happened before I was hired on, but I was hired on 5 years later.
Right.
And it was
awful.
It was still talked about, and it was still a fresh wound even 5 years later. It was still a fresh wound.
Yep.
And even now, when that time comes around and we do the memorial, it's almost like picking at the scab a little.
Yep.
You can tell a lot of the guys that were there.
But it should pick at the scab.
They get a little bit more quiet around that time.
Right.
A little bit more self-reserved.
And it's Christmas.
Yeah, right around Christmas.
We had his funeral on Christmas Eve.
Yep. I remember hearing that. It was cold as hell.
It was freezing. It snowed in Houston, Texas.
Oh, and it never fucking snowed in Texas.
Never. But you know what? The whole funeral procession, there was tons of people, like pedestrians, standing outside their car and saluting.
Yeah. It's crazy how much the general public, how much respect they show to something like that happens.
Right.
And it's extremely, extremely well appreciated.
Yes.
We love it. We thank you all for doing it.
Yes.
Continue to do it, because trust me,
it means so much.
So Nito happened and you noticed a shift.
Yes, that was the biggest shift.
How old were you around now?
Oh, so 2004. I was 12.
You were 12, so you're still fairly young. You're still
old enough to
understand. You're old enough to understand what happened. What was that change that you saw, and how did it affect you growing up? I know how it affected Lieutenant, right? We know that. How did it affect you from that point, seeing your father go through that, the department go through that, which you were close to as well? How did that affect you? Was it, oh, damn, that sucks, and then you kind of just continued being a kid? Or was it something that kind of stuck with you in the back of your mind all the time?
I mean, that's kind of a hard question, because okay, so whenever that happened, a lot of things were going on in my family personally. Like,
if you don't want to get into it, you don't have to.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying to, think about everything that happened. So around that time, my grandpa, which I was very close to, was on the brink of death, right?
Mhm.
And I was at my friend's house. This echo was so weird.
You can take them off.
I know.
You can take them off.
Anyways, I'm going to talk more normally now. But I was at my friend's house, and so my sister came up to the door, and she never would come to the door to pick me up, right? And I walked out, and she was like, hey, you need to come home right now. And I immediately thought my grandpa's passed, you know. And then she came back and was like, no, it's actually been a death in the firefighter. And I immediately freaked out. And it wasn't my dad, thank God. And he wasn't hurt, but a lot of our friends were.
Mm-hmm.
And the funeral was awful. Around Christmas, it was completely terrible. And after that, I was completely terrified of my dad going back to work. Completely terrified. Just because I know that nothing like that has ever happened, like, before that for a long time. But fires, they can happen anywhere. With people, they're predictable. You know, you can, if you're like a police wife, whenever my husband was joined on to be a cop, people said, like, so how do you feel about, like, the danger? And I know statistically that it's harder, or the death rate is increased for police, but in my mind, I'm like, people are predictable, buildings aren't. You know, you're running into sudden death all the time. Whenever something happens, you're running into sudden death. If a police call, it's like, you know, it's a person, but I don't know if that makes any sense.
I'm gonna try to help you make some sense of that. I think what you're trying to say is, when you're dealing with a human being,
right?
You have a little bit more leeway as to how you can mitigate that situation.
You know, emotions, you know, signals, you know, body language.
You can see a lot of all that.
Right.
As a firefighter, when you go to a fire, now we do get trained on reading the smoke.
Yes.
You know,
for sure.
We get trained on certain little signs that will kind of give us a hint as to what's happening.
Right.
But it's not always exactly what's happening. We might see what's happening in this part.
Yes.
But, you know, 50 feet down the hall,
you have no idea.
We have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what you're trying to say is that being a firefighter going into a burning building may be a little bit more unknown, and there's a little less options to mitigate than with, say, another human being, where you can talk to them, you can try to calm them down, you can look at them the entire time. Mm-hmm. You know, now there's all those certain situations where, you know, ambushes and stuff, but those are rare things.
Just very rare.
Mm-hmm. But fire is fire.
Yep.
You know? So it changed how your father reacted. It obviously made you a little bit more concerned, and it seems like every time it changed, it was something that bad happened to firefighters. You got 9/11, you have Nito's funeral, and then it's almost like the job became a little bit more real for you. It sounds like
it does, but
like it's not like
9/11 didn't change my dad's behavior, because he was like, that's a freak accident. It could happen anywhere.
Right.
Nito was different because it could have been him. It should have been him. Like, he was acting lieutenant for 3 months before that. And then that one day they said, no, you're a driver again. And acting lieutenant, if any of y'all are like confused, whenever you're a driver and you're like, you've been a driver for a long time, sometimes you act a certain position whenever other people can't fulfill it. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, so you have firefighter, equipment operator, lieutenant.
Right.
A firefighter cannot act up to an equipment operator if the equipment operator's off.
Right, it's like this level.
And then an equipment operator can act up to a lieutenant
if
the lieutenant's off. And then a lieutenant can act up as a battalion chief if the battalion chief is off.
Right.
So it's basically saying that if a certain position is vacant, that you're able to do the job of one.
You're able to do the job, but that's not your job.
Correct.
Right. So he was doing that for months. And that one day, for whatever reason, he wasn't. It's crazy.
Divine intervention?
Right. But a lot of his friends and coworkers now, like, so I can't really say that because why did he spare him and not other people?
Not I don't know. But then that gets into the whole religious thing, you know.
And I don't know for another podcast.
I don't mind. I don't
either.
I want to get the background of all of us, right? Like all firefighters. I'm sure I'm going to be interviewing or having people as guests that are agnostic, atheist, Christian, Muslim, whatever. And I'm okay with it all. Yeah. So, I mean, and if you have that background, I'm sure that actually helped shape your morality and your thought process. Right? You don't think it did? What do you think did?
I don't think a person's religious beliefs or religious background shape them or whoever impacts them. I think it's whatever they do in their actions.
You think so? So do you think how you act was shaped by maybe how your father and your mother raised you?
Well, yeah, but that wouldn't have anything to do with the religious background.
Well, no, but not if they're bringing you up. Like, okay, so I guess like what I'm saying is, like, I was raised in a Catholic household, right? So when we were raised with certain religious beliefs that shaped your morality, right? It's not like there was no morals.
But like what? Like don't kill.
10 Commandments. Don't kill.
Don't steal, which is basically whenever you're born, you have that's innate.
I'm not sure that it's innate.
I think that it is.
I don't know. It depends on how much do you need to survive. Because if I really need to survive, and I needed to provide for my family, it came down to the nuts and bolts of it, I'm gonna steal.
Exactly. So you just proved my point. So even though you were raised Catholic, you would still do it.
Yeah, I would still do
it. Even though you were told not to.
Yeah. You know what? You're right.
Yeah, so right. I know that
in general, on a day-to-day basis.
Well, exactly. And on a day-to-day basis, I don't think that religious...
I think it would take an extreme circumstance for anybody to go against their morals.
And I think that in an extreme circumstance, it would take an atheist to kill or to steal.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I don't think that your religious upbringing has anything to do with how you are as a moral person.
But you believe your parents did help you with that?
This might make him upset. For my dad, no.
Okay.
My dad was brought up a very different way than my mom was religiously. And I was taught that religiously I had to be like my mom, but I saw how my dad lived, not how my mom preached, and I decided that my dad's way of life was better.
Why would that upset him?
Because he claims that religion of my mom now.
Oh, okay. I mean, but I know your dad to be a very level-headed guy.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't think he would have a problem with me saying that.
No, I think if you can explain yourself,
right,
it's totally okay with
right.
You. So, so after Nito, we're gonna go back. I know we're jumping around. We're gonna come full circle here, but
Hi guys.
We went off on a little bit of a rabbit trail.
Yeah, but that's good.
Yeah, no, it's good because we got a little bit more personal, and I like that. But I want to get back to, okay, you're 12 years old. Nito happened. Mm-hmm. It became almost like the job became a little bit more real. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, crap, this is actually really dangerous. It's not just my dad going to work anymore.
And he also became a lot more quiet.
How did that affect you?
A lot.
Mm-hmm. Do you think maybe when you were younger you took it a little personal?
I didn't understand.
You didn't understand?
Mm-mm.
But looking back, do you think as a child you might have taken it personal? Yeah. Like, because I know whenever my parents were upset or whatever, and I'm trying to come up and talk to them to be happy-go-lucky, and they're just kind of shooing me off, or they're just being quiet, or they're not. I'm not saying he did that, but I'm saying they're not interacting as much as they used to.
Yeah, but even like when you said my dad has RBF,
right?
Like take that to ×3, and if I ever question him about it, he would obviously snap out of it, but it was confusing for me.
I don't know where to go with that, because that's hard to. It's hard to say anything without hearing his perspective, right? So we're trying to.
Oh yeah, he's not here.
He can't explain really, and But the point is to get your perspective, right? So,
and at this point,
now you understand that it was hard for him to explain.
That, and he was also losing sleep. Like, he would have nightmares every night of just hearing stuff going on. So it wasn't even just like the realness of the job getting to him, is he was having PTSD.
Right. So you think maybe that was the first time where the realness of the job kind of got to him more so than before?
More so than before, for sure. And to the point that I realized it, because before then, any stress, like, he could just shrug off and I would never notice it.
Well, yeah, he's actually pretty good at doing that.
Yeah. As an adult in hindsight.
So how did that make you feel growing up? I mean, I know you probably felt, I don't like the fact that my dad's feeling that way, right? I get that part, but
I didn't understand.
How did that make you feel as Krista? Like, so I know I put a lot in, especially growing up, the relationship with my parents and how I am.
Right.
Am I going to behave? Am I not going to behave? You know, am I going to talk back? Am I not going to talk back? So your relationship with your parents is very important to you when you're that young. But when something like that happens and your parents go through that very stressful time and they can't really explain it to their family, it affects them. I want to know exactly how it affected you. You keep saying, well, I saw him like this, I saw him like that. And I understand that. I get that was, for lack of a better term, like a trauma in some way in your psyche about him.
Right.
But how did that make you feel on a day-to-day? Like Krista being Krista on a day-to-day?
That's kind of hard to answer because it's been so long. But I think that anytime, whenever you're a child and you see someone act a certain way and they don't, it's going to connect a dissonance of uncertainty. Like, you know, here's someone who is so steady and fearless and can conquer anything, but oh no, this person does have fears and this is an actual worry. This could happen to us. I think that's what caused a shift in my perspective as far as that goes.
Okay. So you get older, and when did you finally realize, all right, I can start putting my adult mind to what happened in the past and what's going on now? Like, when do you think that clicked?
I don't think until I was now, maybe. And I don't know if I still understand everything, because I don't think you can ever fully understand a person's psyche. You can just understand your experience.
And that's all I'm talking about. I'm just talking about your experience. I'm not asking you to understand him. All right. I'm asking you, when did you realize that the job affected you as a human being? Him being in the job affected you as a human being. We can talk about how you noticed it affected him all day, because it's easy to be that person outside the box.
Honestly, I don't think until I was like 21
that you realized
that affected, because whenever you're a kid, everything's normal. You're not like 9 and going to school and be like, oh, this affected me this way, that's why I'm sad. Like, no, like, you don't understand emotions until you're an adult, you know.
And how how did you realize that? Like, what were the emotions when you were like, holy crap, my father's a firefighter? You're 21 years old. You're allowed, not allowed, you're finally able to
understand
process
emotions.
those emotions. And you're like, whoa, was it, okay, it makes it easier now? Was it, I'm going to be evaluating this way too much now?
Probably when I became a parent.
When you became a parent? How so?
Just because, well, I don't want to put this too much into like the police stuff, but
however you need to explain it.
Whenever you have a partner or a loved one or a relative that is maybe walking into sudden death, as a parent, that made me connect the dots a lot more fluidly than I would have as a child. If that makes any sense. It probably was becoming a parent.
You think becoming a parent maybe even allowed you to understand a little bit more why your father acted the way he did after Nita?
No, because...
So you still don't understand why.
But he didn't act a certain way that was like, whoa,
right,
he's acting
but
completely.
You did notice a shift. So there was a difference.
I don't know that I did at the time. Looking back now.
Looking back, you do know there was a shift.
Yes.
But at the time, you're not entirely
At the
sure.
time, I don't think I noticed a shift.
Okay, well, now you did. Now, looking back, you have noticed the shift, right? Can you understand why that shift happened?
Oh, yeah, because he was there when a death happened. And a horrific death at that point, not like a peaceful go-to-sleep death, a death of a 20-year-old who lost his life in a very tragic way and left behind a fiance.
Yeah. For those of you guys that don't know, you can go look it up. 2004, lost a firefighter. And structure fire. He got trapped. And unfortunately, he passed. He was a brother in our department. I've met his sister-in-law, his brother. And
they've been very good at keeping close with the family.
They have. But I just kind of want to give everybody a background.
Right.
Because we've been talking about it, not really getting too deep into it. So we're going to go ahead and go on a little bit happier trails. I know we kind of got a little bit serious there. But that's kind of part of the whole podcast.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about you, just you. And it's going to sound weird. But I don't want this. We don't have to bring fire into any of this. I know that sounds weird, right? What makes us fire? We're not going to talk about anything about fire, but I want to get to know the daughter. I want to get to know the daughter.
Okay.
Right? So you're Krista.
Mm-hmm.
You have any siblings?
Yep. I have one sister. Her name's Kayla, and she is 30. How old am I? 28. 32. I don't know how old I am anymore. Do you?
No. Yeah. No, I don't know how old they are, but I know I have them.
No, everyone's like, how old are you? I'm like, 92.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
After 29.
After 21, I can, yeah.
It's not fun anymore.
No, it's not.
And then, obviously, we've been talking about your father, your mother. How long? Okay. And brothers?
Nope.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a real estate agent.
That it?
That's it. Yep.
So I kind of made a joke earlier, and you said you didn't want me to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway.
That's fine.
You actually have been getting a lot of business from TikTok.
Yep.
As a real estate agent.
Yep.
Not just being on TikTok.
Nope.
Not just being a pretty face, because you do have a pretty face.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. But you've been actually getting a lot of business from that as a real estate agent.
Yep.
You definitely capitalized on that.
Yep.
How did you come up with the idea to start that?
Well, Whenever I went to my new brokerage, it was like March. And that's whenever the Rona like took a hit. And we couldn't do open houses. We couldn't do showings. It was awful. And so my new boss was like, hey, there's something called TikTok that, this thing is weird. There's something called,
here.
I know, I can't.
Just take it off.
It's so awkward.
It's okay.
Sorry, y'all. But there's something called TikTok that you can, get on and make videos about. You can do anything you want. And it reaches a lot of people. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, sign me up. And I did a live with her that night. And I got like 2,000 followers in one night. And then the next day I had 3 messages asking about pre-approvals and rentals and stuff like that. So yeah, TikTok's been fun. And I was worried that it would be creepy, but it hasn't been. It's been fun. I get a lot more creepy people on Facebook. Really? Yep. Because on TikTok, you have like people who are already like shaking their butts and having OnlyFans and stuff like advertised. But on Facebook, it was like, oh, we don't know if you're into that or not. So TikTok, people know like if you're there for this, you're there for that.
So TikTok's a little bit more matter of fact.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
They know, like, if you're not doing that, then you're not into it. So, yeah, it was.
So you start doing this. Obviously, it's been helping your
been
business. Fun. We got it.
Oh, I have lots of followers running. Hi.
You got a lot of people following us right now. They're actually very lucky because they're able to see the podcast before they edit.
I know.
So
I asked permission though. Before.
You did, and I was totally okay with it. I'm actually really happy you're doing it because I might do that next time, maybe like on Facebook or something.
You have to make a TikTok. We'll do it now because you can only go live if you have 1,000 followers.
Oh, so if Krista makes
I'll make another TikTok video telling people to follow you. But if you post anything saying you're a fireman, people are going to follow you. Really? Cops and firemen are running TikTok right now.
Really?
Yes.
Why? Yeah, this is a good thing. We are going to go into fire now. Why do you think that is? Why do you think?
Because it's funny.
So they're posting funny stuff.
They are, but they're not. So it's humanizing things. So right now we're living in Jumanji 2020, right? So you're having the world going to shit, and
no, it is.
It's funny to see firemen act like children. I don't know.
Well, if you want to see that, just go to a firehouse.
But that's what they want, though. So they want to see the person who's showing up, not to be just professional. They want to see you. Like, what are you actually like? I know you have to be professional when you show up, but it's nice to see that there's a personality behind the badge. I don't know if y'all have badges.
We do. Yeah, we have badges. Fire.
I should know this because
you should know that. Well, and that's part of why that's what this podcast is for as well, is to kind of put a human aspect to it, because I've just been getting sick and tired of the persona and projection of Hollywood firefighters, and then having them be the staple or the measuring stick to what firefighters should or should not be.
So what are you what are you referencing? So what movie? I'm interested.
So Chicago Fire.
I've never seen that.
Ladder 49. Ladder 49 is actually.
I was about to say I love Ladder 49.
So Ladder 49. Now, granted, it's Hollywood. So if I had to pick a movie that got it mostly right, it would be Ladder 49.
I think so too.
Right? It's very Hollywood, but I think people forget that what they're seeing on the screen are like once in a lifetime calls. A lot of these things that you see on television and on the movies and stuff like that, what you're seeing, that does not happen every shift. And it doesn't matter what department you're in. I don't give a crap about what department you're in. Those kind of calls happen, but they do not happen as often for one crew all the time.
But to object to that, even though those calls don't happen all the time, and I think this may tie into the whole Nito thing, even though those calls don't happen every day, you have to go to work knowing that they could happen every day.
No, that is there in our head. It is in our
Yeah.
head that the shit can hit the fan. And every time we go into work, we know that.
Yeah.
But it's not something we openly talk about. We just all
No, but it
understand
still
that
affects you.
we know that it can happen. Do we honestly believe it can happen every day we go to work? No. I can't. I would not be able to point out one firefighter that would say, yes, the shit would hit the fan every single day where we have these once-in-a-lifetime calls all the time. I don't think one firefighter would say that's a possibility.
No, I don't think you do.
It's a possibility. It's not a probability.
Yeah, but I think subconsciously you do, though.
Yeah, it's in the back of our head. We think, I mean, and don't get us wrong, like when those big calls happen, we actually have a lot of fun. You know, because I say we have a lot of fun. That sounds really bad. We're not having fun in that person's misery.
No, I know. Yeah.
We're having fun because we get to do what we trained to do.
Right.
Right. And I've always said this before, like if we're not getting called out, if we're having I'm knocking on wood, guys. If we're having a slow day, you're not supposed to say that.
Yeah, don't ever say that. And then if my dad's there, there's not going to be a slow day.
That's actually a good thing because that means nobody else
no
is
one's
having
hurt.
a bad day.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And we get called on people's worst days.
Yep.
Or they stub their toe at 3:00 in the morning.
Yep.
We get those calls.
Yep.
Stop doing that.
Yep.
Anyway. But no, but I think that Hollywood idea of firefighters in the general public. Now, it's easy for you to say, well, I don't think that because you've grown up with a firefighter within the fire family. So it's easy for you to say that, no, it's not. No, they don't. And I'm like, well.
Oh, yeah, it's easy. For sure.
Because you actually know what it's like.
Right.
But I think the general public thinks that there's some truth to the idea of what Hollywood puts out. Do you think that's possible?
There's some truth to the idea that Hollywood puts out?
Yeah.
Well, there is some truth. But, I mean, with some...
I think
you can't have any truth without... Like, you can't present a lie without a smidgen of truth because then it's obviously false.
Right. Well, the only smidgen of truth is, I think, the uniform on some of these shows. To be completely honest with you, no, it's the uniform, and that's their smidgen of truth.
But
I just make up everything.
Whatever you're talking about, I've only seen that one show that you're talking about, is Ladder 49, which you said was the most accurate. Mm-hmm. And in that movie, I felt like there was a lot of positive things that was brought about. Not even just the action. It was about like family unity. It was about how close your friends are in the fire community. Like, what's so funny is that a lot of people said, like, how was it with your dad not having Christmas or Thanksgiving off? I loved it when my dad didn't have Thanksgiving off because that meant that I got to go to the fire station and have it with a whole group of family. And that was the best time. The best time.
I enjoy it too. I love it when all the families come together. There's a firefighter at my station. His daughter apparently just loves my mashed potatoes. So I love having the families over too and all that. But I would disagree with you on there are cliques within the fire department.
I didn't experience that.
No, but there are cliques. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. It's just you have a set of firefighters that have a certain set of same interests. So outside the fire department, they hang out. And then outside the fire department, they will not hang out.
Oh, that wasn't how it was when I was little.
Okay, so being in the fire department, I'm telling you, that's how it is. That it really is how it is. Now, if any one of those people needed help,
for sure.
Because we're not going to go hang out with them because our interests are different outside the job, doesn't mean we're not going to go help them outside the job.
Oh, for sure. I'm just telling you my perspective as a daughter.
Right.
Like, growing up, I was like, if we ever needed to have Thanksgiving or Christmas there, I was so excited because everyone was so united. Mm-hmm. And it was, and firefighters. know how to cook the best.
No, inside the job. Yeah, inside the job.
As a daughter's perspective, that's how it was.
Yeah, inside the
I
job,
never ever felt that like with police or any other like doctor, nurse like thing, it's different because if you don't have your significant other there, they're absent. But with fire, they have a house that you can like come and congregate and everyone's united, and it's a really warm feeling. And I actually miss that feeling.
Well, you're more than welcome to come by the station anytime. I'm telling you.
Well,
you can come by mine. You can go to your dad's. I'm telling you, you.
Not saying that it's all like rainbow fuzzies and everything. That's just a positive thing for holidays that
even not just on
cherish.
Holidays. If you give us a heads up and you want to come have lunch with us,
not even a heads up, you can drop by the fire station anytime you want.
I say a heads up so we can make enough. But you can
whatever. You know that one of y'all will go without because y'all are so nice.
We will.
Yeah.
We take care of our
families. They are.
We take care of our families.
They do.
First fold. So we went a little bit as to who you are, what you do. No. We go up. Hey, I'm telling you what, these kind of the way the podcast is going, I actually love the way it goes like this.
Good.
Because you get real emotion and real truth when you go on those little rabbit trails. As long as we don't keep talking in circles and everything we're saying is a little bit, and everything we're saying is a little bit new, and we're not saying the same thing over and over. I'm totally okay with going in little rabbit trails.
Yep.
So nowadays, you're a single mother now.
Yep.
You have grown. Obviously, you've had a real big life experience.
Yep.
Is there anything that you know now, knowing what you know now as an adult, that you would go back and tell that 9-year-old little girl that saw 9/11 happen, or tell that 12-year-old little Krista when she noticed her dad all of a sudden start going a little bit quiet? Is there anything you would have tell yourself back then to either make it easier, or would you just kind of let it ride and just not change anything?
Well, going back to what would I change, the 9/11 Krista also grew up with a father who even before 9/11 happened, I knew that was very intentional and very caring to people. And so at 9 years old, I started a penny drive at my school without anyone's nudge to help with the cost of the funerals for firefighters. And that raised over $3,000. And even though that's not a large amount for a little 9-year-old girl in an East Texas town of 100 people in our class, I'm still proud of that. And it's not because of me and how great of a person I am. It's because I saw my dad help people in times of need and step up whenever, no one else was there to step up for them. So that's part of that. What was the other question? What would I tell a 9-year-old Krista?
Yeah, what would you tell the 9-year-old Krista and 12-year-old
To be
Krista?
patient. I know that it's hard to process big people emotions when you're little, and in fact, it's impossible because you can't, because you don't have the brain capacity to. But I guess just be patient and be nice. That's all I can say.
That's all you would.
Yeah, because you can't tell a 9-year-old to, ask questions, ask how they're feeling, ask how you can better help. Because if my dad was to tell me this is how you can better help, he would be a bad parent at that point. Because that's not how you treat a 9-year-old,
No.
So, that's kind of a hard question for me to answer.
Well, you answered it perfectly. You gave yourself advice. Just be patient.
Be patient. That's it. I don't have any.
What that tells me is that your 9-year-old self was maybe a little impatient because you noticed this change with no explanation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Or just why aren't you so joking? Why are you just silent all the time? Why are you so tired? Because you can't sleep. But to a 9-year-old, you can't be oh, it's because I'm having these thoughts. And no, you can't. Because a 9-year-old's okay. they don't get it.
No, they don't.
And they shouldn't get it because it's not a part of their, brain capacity.
Right. I don't think it ever will be either.
No.
it's very rare that you find some children with that kind. They're the ones that are graduating Harvard at 12 years old, you know. I think with that kind of brain capacity. You don't agree? Okay.
I think they're the ones that never was able to be taught their feelings. So they're so analytical to the point where they don't have any emotional capacity.
That's true. I can see that. How about now? How about being an adult and everything? Like I said, you and your dad are really close. He's your best friend.
Best friend.
He was texting you right before you came.
Yes.
Are you sure you're still going to do it? Or
yes.
Did he give you an outline?
Okay, so stuff? My dad...
Lieutenant, I am not that prepared. I'm not.
Well, no. So I'll give you an insight to my dad. I was like, he trains the rookies and he's so like, da, 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 da. So whenever he first heard about it, I could tell he was a little hesitant. But then he started liking my stuff on Instagram. And then I messaged him at the request of you to be sure that it was okay that we do this interview. And he goes,
I was going to do this interview with you no matter what. I just wanted to make sure it was okay.
If it was okay that we talk specifically about my dad. Correct. And how his behavior affected me as
a child,
a person or an adult, whatever. So I asked my dad that, and he was like, yeah, I'm fine with it. Just, did he print out a printable of the questions he was going to ask you? And I said, no. I said, but, he won't post anything until that I'm fine with, the final edit.
I will edit out anything you do not want.
Well, and I told him, I was like, and I wouldn't say anything that would, not that I'm being disingenuous here, but I'm not going to come out here and like tell all my family drama. Like, who wants that? That's why whenever you asked my mom, I was like, no. Yeah. Like,
hey, I get it.
I know, and he knows that, and he's respectful. That's why he asked a question. I said, no, that's a no-go. So, but even before I was coming here, he was like, so are you going to do it? Good luck. He was actually low-key excited about it.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck.
No, like, whenever my dad, okay, do y'all have any parents out there, even that are not in fire or whatever, if you are like in your 20s or 30s and you text your parents, hey, blah, 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 and like a paragraph and they say K, dot, do you like instantly get fear in your belly? Because I do all the time, and my dad says K. I'm like, you do not know the gravity of that one text. Do you? No one else knows what I'm talking about.
No, I get it. Like here's this huge thing. Here's this huge thing I'm really excited about, or I have a whole lot of emotion involved in. I'm letting you know, and your response is
K.
All right. K.
No, not all right. K. Dot.
And you're like, can you be a little bit more excited? Maybe 2 words.
Yeah, I don't know. It just makes me feel like I'm in trouble.
Well, I hope you're not in trouble, Krista.
No, I'm not in trouble.
You're not. I bet.
Thanks for following me. Thank you so much.
Oh, she's saying hi.
Sorry, my TikTok followers.
TikTok followers. Oh, yeah. And while we're on the podcast, I'm going to go ahead and say hi to those TikTok followers who are following us and listening to the unedited version of the podcast right now. Thank you guys for following Krista.
Yay!
And thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys. Please go to What Makes Us Fire on Instagram, on Facebook at What Makes Us Fire, Twitter at What Makes Us Fire, YouTube What Makes Us Fire, and you can email me if you need to, whatmakesusfire@yahoo.com. Appreciate you guys listening. Krista's been generous enough that if you guys are dropping her pandas, I don't know what that means. They're dropping my pandas. When she said it at first, I was like, why are they dropping your pants? I didn't understand. Pandas. Yeah, that's what I meant. dropping your pandas. But I didn't understand what that meant at first. But thank you guys. She is helping me out with that. So Krista, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I appreciate it. You guys, if there is anybody in the Houston area that is needing a realtor, please get on TikTok, get on Instagram, look up Facebook. Krista Lindsay, right? You're on Krista Lindsay on Facebook. And she is top notch.
Pandas!
If you have any questions about real estate, anything, she has been great. She has been giving free information on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. If you just see her posts, you're going to learn a whole lot. And if you get in contact, you're going to learn a hell of a lot more. She's there for you. She's ready to help you out.
Yep.
Krista, thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you so much.
We did go off on a whole bunch of
sorry guys.
We definitely stuck on your dad, Lieutenant Tracy Lindsay, a whole lot. So if you're listening, sir, hope I didn't piss you off. I hope you saw that I treated your daughter with the utmost respect. And other than that, again, Krista, thank you so much for coming out.
Well,
it's getting
thank
a little late. I can't wait to hear from you again.
Me too.
We'll get that TikTok going. And yeah, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
don't even
for
know
sure.
what else to say. You have anything else to say? You got anything to ask?
No, just thanks for having me. And what should your TikTok name be?
What makes us fire? What else?
What makes us fire?
Yeah. What
We're
else?
going to make it now.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys, that was Krista. I want to thank her again for coming onto the podcast. Krista, thank you so much. That was awesome. You were amazing. It was definitely different hearing that side of the story coming from a daughter of a firefighter. And I'm sure there's a bunch out there that have a whole bunch of different stories as well. I want to thank her again for sharing hers and her perspectives and her outlooks. Again, guys, remember, if you're looking for a realtor in the Houston area, hit up Krista. She's on TikTok. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook. She's going to help you out. Also, I want you guys to please follow What Makes Us Fire podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. My email is whatmakesusfire@yahoo.com. And yes, because of the lovely Miss Krista, I do have a TikTok, and it is What Makes Us Fire. Y'all stay tuned for the next episode. Be safe out there. Have fun. And peace.